Hello and welcome back to Hey, Deez games are pretty good, huh? A Hades and Hades 2 podcast. Of course, a spin-off podcast for Drop In, Drop Out. Dropping in this week to spoil the ever-loving heck out of Hades 2, the homie Shea. Shea, how we doing?
Doing good. Excited. I love this game very much.
Hell yeah. And
Yeah.
Gianni from the Content Mill. Gianni, welcome back to the show. How we doing?
Thank you. Thank you for having me. As always, very excited to jump into all of the sexy people in Hades too.
Oh my God, everybody's so hot. I'm your host, Patrick. If this is your first time here, thank you for being here. Typically on Thursday nights, we talk all sorts of video game stuff. News, breaking down conferences, showcases, that kind of thing. Or we just love having an evergreen conversation. However, last night on the channel, on the YouTube channel, we released our Secret Santa special, which is why you see this festive, jolly background and also the festive, jolly intro done by Ryan Selvey and music by Chike, aka Basic Fun. But because we don't have a live show tonight, Shay, Gianni, myself, aka PG and Shay, we've been talking about, we want to talk about Hades 2. Jake abandoned me on Hey, these games are pretty good, huh? A Hades and Hades 2 podcast. But I never stopped playing this video game. And so y'all were, I knew that y'all hit credits. I knew that y'all are real gamers. And so I messaged you guys like over a month ago. And I was like, we need to do a Hades 2 spoiler cast. And then it just kept getting punted for things or whatever. We finally have time now to spoil Hades 2. However, we're not going to dive right in. I figure we can start with some like overall kinds of thoughts, that kind of thing. Maybe start with a review, give it a score. But before we do any of that, I already plugged our Secret Santa episode, which dropped last night on our YouTube and podcast services all around the world. But next Thursday, a week from tonight, the Ennies, Christmas Day. We don't know what time yet, but we want to, last night we did a YouTube premiere that was very fun. And so we're trying to figure out what is the best time on Christmas Day to do a premiere where some people actually show up. We're thinking maybe afternoon. So if you have like ideas on when you think you would be most interested in watching the Ennies next Thursday, let us know. But for those of you that don't know what the Ennies are, if you haven't seen us announce it or talk about it before, it is Drop In, Drop Out's version of an awards show. They're going to be the most unique video game award categories you've ever heard of. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be everyone in Drop In, Drop Out except Josh. Josh is not able to make it. So we're going to have a 6-stack going through. We're going to nominate games in each category and decide winners on the show. So I'm sure it will be a lot of chaotic fun. So tune in for that next week. But as I said at the top of the show, y'all, we're here for Hades 2. The Game Awards just happened. It didn't win Game of the Year, but it won Best Action Game.
Yeah, it did.
Which is like, we knew it was going to be a tough hill to climb in the year of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. But we're here to honor it ourselves and talk about what is a fantastic story, world, etc., etc. So let's jump in with some maybe like light spoilers and or no spoilers. When we get like to the real nitty gritty of spoilers, we will make sure to let y'all know and pin that in the chat. But for now, Shay, I'd like to start with you. What did you think about Hades 2? Give us a score. How much did you play it? Just general overall vibes with the game.
Okay, so I started Hades 2 in September, the day it came out. I didn't play it in early access because I wanted to wait until I had the full picture and that I can just run through, get to credits, and the game's over.
For sure.
Game's over. It's beautiful. I love it. I love the art style. Everything's so intricate. It's so detailed. It's a step above a million to Hades 1, and that was in my top 5 games ever. And this one, Hades 2, has picked it out, and Hades 2 is now in my top 5. So I spent about 100 hours right now at this point. So yeah, played a lot of it, enjoyed all of it.
In your top 5 right now that you say Hades 2 is a part of, do you know the number in which you would put it in that 5? You don't have to. I'm just curious because I know.
I don't know.
Okay, I'll reveal mine when I give my score. But on a scale of 1 to 10, what score would you give Hades 2? Do you think?
Probably like a 9.8.
Oh, okay, 9.8. I love that.
Oh,
Hell
Yeah,
yeah.
or 10. I don't know.
Eula's hearing me in double. Is anybody else hearing me in double? No one else has brought this up, but also, JK Games with the raid. Thanks for being here, JK Games. Okay, I'm hearing more no's than I'm hearing yeses. So Eula, I am hoping that that's just a Eula thing. Gianni, I kick it to you.
yes.
How long did you
Yeah.
play Hades 2? What did you think? What score would you give it? What do you like and love about Hades 2?
Hades 2 is a 10 out of 10. This is
My fucking man.
yeah, this game is a masterpiece. And again, a 10 out of 10 is not necessarily a perfect game. But this is damn close to a perfect game. Anything that I have issues with are so minimal and
Mm.
insignificant. Everything about this game is fantastic. I will say that I'm rounding out about 75 hours in the game, so I know you two probably have a little bit more experience in the end game stuff than maybe I do, but I was already very hot on this going into the rolling credits,
Yeah.
and then I was probably sitting somewhere around a 9.5 already. Once I finished, the epilogue content that, we kind of wanted to finish for this spoiler cast, it solidified it as a 10 out of 10. And this is easily a top 10 game of all time for me.
My dude.
Yeah. And that's in a big year of games that I this is going to sound pretty hyperbolic, but there's 4 games this year that I think have entered my top 10 games of all time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
4 is
Hades is,
crazy.
yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts.
Expedition 33,
Mhm.
Hades 2,
Yes.
Avowed, because I know you're an Avowed sicko.
No,
No, not
Midnight
Avowed?
Walk.
Mafia.
The
The
Midnight
Midnight
Walk.
Walk.
Yes,
Oh.
And
absolutely.
then I don't know what 4th could be. Indica. Well, that
Indica's a
was last year.
backlog title for me.
Yeah,
that was
for sure,
last
for
year,
sure, for sure.
but
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So
Hell
3.
yeah.
We'll say 3.
We'll
But
say 3.
Hades 2 with a bullet is my game of the year. Every day, I go, oh, remember this thing though? Oh,
Yeah,
maybe
yeah,
that'll
yeah.
push it around.
For sure.
But Hades 2, every time I think about it, I'm like, this is just one of those games that I could recommend to anyone, whether you're into the story or not. The gameplay
Yeah.
is some of the most satisfying I've ever experienced in a game, if not the most satisfying.
Hell yeah. I am right there with you. Earlier this year, I had what I think I might describe as a religious experience with Blueprints. It just clicked for
Mm,
me in such a DNA level way. Just like the way
I
that the
love
story
that.
uncovered for me, and not really having any sort of issues with the RNG of that game that I know a lot of people have had issues with, and just some of moments that I still think about uncovering in that game, and realizing that that game is so much bigger in some ways than I ever realized starting it.
yeah.
And things that had just been in your face the entire game. And I was earlier this year, that game is a top 10 for me at the moment of all time. And so throughout the year, Death Stranding 2, Donkey Kong Bonanza, I'm playing these really,
Mm.
really great games that I love. And I keep getting to this point of but I just don't see how anything could dethrone Blueprints for me, with just the way that I latched onto that game and fucking loved it. And then Hades 2 happened. And I for people that have been here for a while and know me, Last of Us is a franchise that I am obsessed with. I adore it. I've played those
Mm.
games each. I played the first one probably more than 10 times. I played the second one between 7 and 10 times. Even though it's just fucking dark, I love it so much, and I love the characters, and I love the world, and the gameplay loop is so fun for me. And it, again, similar to my experience with Blueprints earlier this year, I've thought now for years, I don't see how a game could dethrone The Last of Us as my favorite game of all time until Hades 2. And I've put 160 hours into this video game. I
Wow.
hit credits. I did the thing when they dropped the patch for a new ending where you turn
Oh.
back time, and I went and I did it again. And the way, no spoilers, but if you don't know what I'm referring to, it drops you back to basically the beginning of the final act, where you realize,
Mhm.
okay, these are the things I need to do to beat the game. It resets the progress of those things, and you have to just do it again. It probably added 15 hours ish.
Yeah.
But oh man, I love this game so much. I think I played only 8 hours of it in early access, and I knew it was oh, okay, this is already a step up in a lot of ways from the first Hades. So I just want to put it away until it hits 1.0. And that's what I did. And then when it came out, I just dove into it on Switch too, because that was another issue I had with it on it being on just Steam, where it can play on the Steam Deck, but I just don't love the way the Steam Deck feels. So it's like I want to wait for Switch because it'll probably be on the Switch at launch, and it is. And yeah, I just devoured this game. I feel like the gameplay loop is about as perfect a gameplay loop can be. I think its year plus that it spent in early access gave them so much time and feedback to really hone it in such a masterful way that like I don't think there's a bad build in this game. I think there are times where like the stars don't align, but I don't think there's like a bad boon.
Yeah.
I don't think there's a bad power, a bad god. Like there's
I agree.
everything about this game is just such a masterfully done thing. And then on top of that, they tell a narrative that I thought was in fucking incredible. I have some nitpicks with it, which we'll get into later in spoilers, but I
Yeah.
think across the board, it just checked every box for me in such a
Yeah.
way that I think part of it is because of how much I loved Hades, I was like, there's no way that it could be so much better than Hades that it stands on its own 2 feet like it does, but I think it really does, and I think it does enough differently from Hades that
Yep.
this is an easy 10 for me, game of the year. And at the moment, maybe I reflect on this more and I pull it back. At the moment, it is my number one game of all time.
Wow.
So
Whoa, that's
I
That's
big.
wild.
I fucking love
Massive.
That's
this
high
game so much.
praise.
Yeah, so let's start jumping into it. So we can kind of
Yeah.
tiptoe into spoilers. So we won't go immediately into
Yeah.
the end game, but maybe let's just stick for now. For those of us that are in the chat that haven't finished the game, maybe let's just stay down south. Let's stay with the underworld for a bit, and talk about favorite areas, favorite bosses,
Yeah.
that kind of thing in the underworld. Gianni, what in the underworld, like what stood out to you? What's a standout boss fight area in Hades 2 for you?
Yeah, I think I mean one of the standouts for me across the board, but specifically, you deal with that once you get to the second and third area in the underworld, is that you start to see like different styles of how these areas open up instead of just kind of like the two-door split um, from the original Hades. So even going into I'm gonna fuck up these names of these areas.
Hey, that's
So
okay.
please help me through this. I think it's Oceanus. You kind of get this ability to open up 3 additional paths or 2 additional paths or 1 additional path. And then moving on to the area that has Cerberus. I love that
The
open
Morning
world.
Fields.
Yeah, the morning fields. That open area design. You kind of like walk into these areas, you'll find a tree, and that tree will kind of point you into all these different
Yeah.
directions. And if you want to take the time to go after like the little things, it doesn't take much effort. But that being said, that fight with Cerberus might be my favorite one. I know there's a lot of
Really?
love for Scylla,
Oh wow.
but
Yeah.
in the underworld,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that fight with Cerberus is a fun time. It just feels big, it feels bombastic, it feels
Sure.
large, and there's something that I really do enjoy about that. I know there's going to be a lot of Scylla fans. Trust me, I totally
for sure.
understand it. But I just love how big that Cerberus fight feels, and that first time getting to Cerberus and not realizing, like, thinking that Cerberus is surely going to be friendly. Yeah, surely he's going to
Yeah.
be friendly. No, that's not the case.
No.
You're like, yeah, no,
He's
it's going down,
naughty.
dude. So
Yeah.
yeah, dude. So I really like that portion of it. I will say the Hecate fight is interesting too, because I mained the umbral flames a lot, and
sure.
there's a lot of dialogue to be had there because of the
Yeah.
umbral flames. So that was always interesting for me, just from like a conversational standpoint, where you kind
Yeah.
of felt like you really were speaking to your mentor in that fact. So I like that piece of the Hecate fight as well.
As a really quick aside, I'm glad you shouted that out. One of my favorite
Yeah.
nuances of this game is how often there is new dialogue. Like I think the first time I finished a run in this game and didn't have anything new happening in the crossroads was hour 120. I remember thinking like, this is nuts. But then after that, it's not like I never had new dialogue again. That was just the first time that I never had anything new to be said or whatever. And how often that, you'll get to that fight based on the weapon you're using or the keepsake that you're wearing, that Hecate will have like different things to say. And really all of the bosses will end up having different things to say. Like if you wear certain ones from Odysseus
and the gods.
and the gods too.
The gods will make comments.
I fucking love it. Oh,
I messaged in the Discord. The other day, like, I never really mess with the music changing in the crossroads. And I got to a point the other day where I finally just had disposable income to buy songs. So I just bought a shit ton of songs and I started changing things up. You'll get different conversations based on the songs that are playing. They'll
Oh,
comment on
word?
the actual songs that are
Oh,
playing. Yes, which
Ah,
blew my freaking mind. I was
hell
like,
yeah.
there's no way there's also unique dialogue options
Yeah.
if I go and change the music. It was crazy. It was
Put a
wild.
pin in that because I want to talk about the Crossroads tonight for sure. But Shay, what about you? Any standout underworld tings that you want to talk about?
well, my least favorite, sorry, Gianni, but my least favorite area was actually Fields of Morning.
Yeah.
No.
That was the area that I was dreading getting to. Like, I loved Oceanus. It was beautiful. Everything was sparkly, you know. The skillite, the Skilla fights, I was like, is this fight really all that? Because the song that I was getting, it wasn't it. And then on the 11th fight, I got the banger song, and then I was like, okay, yeah, this fight's awesome. But I
Yeah.
think the one that I enjoyed the most, that was the most like Hades fight, was Hecate and
Sure.
Erebus.
How
So
long did it
yeah.
take you to realize that you can dodge her spell to turn you into a
Oh my
sheep or a
god.
pig?
I still don't know how to do
So
it. I'm like
long.
Really?
I'm running and dodging, running and dodging. I have not been able to pull it off yet. So it's funny
Really?
that you bring that up because every fight I'm like, I can't get any faster. Like, how do I dodge this thing?
That's so funny.
You
Yeah,
can
What's
you
the
can
secret
bring
there?
Frito with you, and he can eat it.
Oh, I've
No
never tried that method.
way.
Yeah.
Typically what I do
Wow.
is it only works sometimes, especially, and if you do the one that, so the rival version of her battle where like it makes the boss fight harder, there's four of
Mhm.
Mhm.
her, but there's only ever one that's real. And so at that
Oh,
moment
okay.
there's just shit like all over the place. So it's really difficult to dodge then, but I've learned, and I don't always, because you got to kind of play with fire. If you dodge at it and just then make it have
Yeah.
to turn around, that
Mm,
has been the most successful way I've found in dodging it and not turning into a sheep. But it took me like 75 hours to stumble
I'm
into that.
never not a sheep, bro.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
every time I'm a
That's so
sheep.
funny. That's so funny. No, I agree with y'all though. I think if I could nitpick one thing about just like a general, at first I liked it that the final version or the final place you go to in the underworld is Tartarus because that's where you start in Hades 1.
Mhm.
And at first it's like,
Mhm.
oh, that's cool, that's fun, that like it's like a different version of it. It's got this like time theme throughout because
Yeah.
Kronos being the Titan of time, this like
Yeah.
beating of the clock is kind of like this through line, which I like. There's a lot of things that they change about it that I like.
Yeah.
But after a while, I was like, it feels a bit rote to me that I spent X number of hours in Hades 1 in a very similar version of Tartarus. And now I'm back in
Yeah.
Tartarus. It's just like a little different. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
definitely, I don't love Tartarus, except I do I like that within there there is this like gambling almost of like, okay, how
Yes.
strong am I right now?
Oh,
And
Yeah.
do
yeah.
I want to just mainline the path to get to Kronos,
Take the
or do I
detour.
want to keep taking the detours to get stronger
Yeah.
and find more money or whatever?
Yeah.
So I really like that aspect of
Yeah.
Tartarus, but Oceanus for me, I think is definitely my favorite. And I
Mhm.
also love, we'll talk a little bit about a different place later, but I love that with Oceanus, however we're saying it, there's this like layer to it that you are just making your way to a show. And like
Yeah.
when you
Yeah.
finally get there, there's like all of the little ghosts are in line to go in to watch Scylla
Yeah.
and the sirens perform. And I think the game's biomes are at their best when there is like more to it than just you're in a place where like either transportation is happening, which is one that I'm going to talk about later, or yeah, like you're building toward a very specific thing.
Yeah.
I like that as like
Mhm.
a way to just not make it feel like a 2D place of like
Yeah.
just not having much going on.
And subtle detail on that too, because that's a fun one too. Is like as you get closer through Oceanus, the music like the sound check that they're
Yeah.
doing, it's like getting louder and louder, and
Yeah.
I think that that's a
Oh.
really neat little
I
detail.
love that, and I also love that
Yeah.
they'll you're gonna eventually you start to realize what song they're gonna sing because they're kind
Yeah.
of like they're when they're
Yep.
doing the sound
Yeah.
check, you're like, oh,
Yep.
okay, that's the melody for that one or whatever.
You
Yeah.
walk
And then
into
their green
Oceanus,
room,
like, yes.
their
Yeah,
green room
exactly.
being like the spot after, you know, it's very
It's
cool.
so good.
Mhm.
And I also one of my favorite I want to talk about music at some point, but we can dip our toe
Yeah.
into that conversation because Bewitching Eyes, I mean, easily track
So
of the
good.
fucking century.
Yep.
But the like spooky hummed version when you're making your way through Oceanus is one of my
Yeah.
favorite little bits of
Mhm.
music in the game. Because then also you know that like, oh, I get to listen to them sing that track, which is always fun. Did you guys ever do any of the like harder versions of the boss fights, the like souped up versions?
Well,
Yes.
go for it, Jay.
With the oath?
Is
Like
that
you're
what it
making all
is?
the I think it's the Oath of the Unseen. Like right before you go
Yeah.
into the portal, you like amp it up.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
did two ups, two downs, but
Okay.
the third one is so hard.
Yeah.
I can't get it.
For up or down.
Both.
But
I
yeah, I
did
mean
the
up
down
especially.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I
really
couldn't even
like
get through Erebus.
yeah, the first time that I got to Oceanus and I was doing that. So in Oceanus's version, light spoiler for that is Charybdis, the
Mm,
like
the
Cthulhu
Oh,
yes.
yeah,
beast.
yeah.
It joins the
Octopus
fight when
thing.
you're fighting Scylla. And that was the very first time I ever got Bewitching Eyes. Was the first time I did it with both of them. And so I thought it was like unique to that boss fight. And then I realized
No
like, oh, no,
way.
sometimes she just sings it when she chooses to. But that was like one of my favorite moments of the game was realizing, oh, playing the harder version, I get the fucking banger Bewitching Eyes was very good.
That's
Yeah.
like
Um,
really deep in the game.
yeah, for sure.
It's
Because and
crazy.
I noticed there was one of the patch notes for when they added in the like expanded ending. One of the patch notes
Mhm.
was making sure Bewitching Eyes happens a lot sooner by default because I think it was like a randomized thing originally, but
Okay.
now that's like it happens by a certain number
Guaranteed.
of runs. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because oh yeah, it's so good.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think. I guess let's start dipping into upstairs a little bit. So, starting to get more spoilery. We're still not going to spoil the end, but if you don't know anything other than there is an underworld, well, we are now dipping our toes into spoilers that there is more than just the underworld.
We've already spoiled it. Let's be real.
Yeah, right. Dipping toes into
There you
spoilers.
go.
Pinned. D- Let me ask you guys this.
Mhm.
Did you at any point before you experience it know that there was a second half of this game?
Mm,
I, I knew that
no?
there was more than the underworld. I did not expect to be, as you put in the show notes, Tears of the Kingdomed. I did
Yeah.
not.
Yeah.
I did not like. I thought it was like, oh, there's a cool another biome that you get to go to. I did not realize that there was a whole other half of this game that you weren't
Mhm.
seeing. And in my opinion, and again, says a lot because the going to Tartarus is phenomenal. I think the even better half is the road to
I agree.
Olympus. I think
I
that
agree.
is where the real game is at. So I'm lucky that I didn't get spoiled that it was like literally a whole half of the other of the game.
Yeah.
Same.
How about you, Shay? Same?
Yeah, I did the 10 or so. Sorry, spoilers. But I did a bunch of runs down to Tartarus, and
Yeah.
then when I felt that I got all that I could get out of Tartarus for the time, I went up to Olympus and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
There's like 3 more areas to do. This is a whole different game. This is 2 games in one. I
Yeah.
was like
Oh, it's the best.
blown away.
Yeah, I pretty early I went up to because you needed something from that very first section of Erebus to do some sort of incantation back at the
Mhm.
crossroads. So I thought like you, Gianni, that it was just that one little. There's like a few
Yeah.
places you could go, but then once I realized that you could, once there was like, oh, you need to get an incantation so that you can live up there. I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
why
thought
would
it
I
was just
need
gonna be
to
like
live up
a boss
there?
fight. I thought it was just gonna be like a boss
Yeah.
fight or something like that.
Right.
You know what
And
I
then
mean?
I get to the end and we fight Polyphemus, the Cyclops of the Odyssey. And it was like, oh, this is great. And then it keeps going. And we get to my favorite area, the Rift of Thessaly, with the
Mm.
ships,
Mm.
which is just so fucking pretty and so cool. And then I beat Eris. And I'm like, brother, how far is this going? And then I'm climbing Olympus. And then for a long time, I thought it ended at fighting
Same.
Gianni, what's his name?
Prometheus.
Prometheus. And
Same.
so
Oh.
I was like, oh, because so once I realized that I went up, I was like, okay, I know Ben Starr's in this game, so I googled who is Ben Starr, found out he's Prometheus. Like, okay, so Prometheus must be like the upstairs Kronos.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I blah blah blah. Finally, and I finally get there and I beat him, and it keeps going, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
are you
Yeah.
joking? And then I think one of
Forever.
like the one of my favorite moments was that very first run up Olympus. So when you beat Prometheus, and I was just like at a breakneck pace, like I'm so strong at this point. I just like everything's working out in my favor, and I'm like, I can't fucking believe this is still happening. And then find out there's a thing even bigger at the very top. It's like this game is so fucking good.
That was the first moment where I like, because now that we're talking about upstairs,
Yeah.
Prometheus is my favorite boss fight in the game. That's easily my favorite boss fight. I had that exact same thing where I got to Prometheus, I got my shit kicked in.
Yeah.
I made it back there. It took me like 4 or 5 tries before I was able to finally beat Prometheus. And I had the exact same experience where I was like, this has to be the end of the game based on how difficult, because I had a way easier time my first time with Kronos than I did with Prometheus.
Sure.
So when I finally got through Prometheus with the skin of my teeth, like no health left, and I had that exact same reaction where I'm like, oh wait, there's a whole other fucking biome, and I think first area on that fourth region, I just got mollywopped, and I was just like, all right, well, I'm out of here.
The very first time I got past Prometheus, I made it all the way to Typhon, and then Typhon just kicked my teeth in. And it's like I just did crack for the first time. I was like, and then I probably ended up playing that game for another like 4 hours that night because it was like I have to. And then it took me a very long time to get back to Typhon. But I think of all the boss fights in the game, I actually think the boss fight with Typhon is one of the weakest ones.
I think so too. Yeah.
And I think the big reason is it's his lack of mobility. I think
Yeah.
I learned pretty quickly that the Typhon boss fight, as long as you have health, is kind of the most cheesable boss fight of like if you just focus on building up your casts and you're just like spamming that and just doing as many powers as you can. Oh, he's going to do the whip thing, dodge, and then just back at it. I feel like typically, unless I am on my last life or I'm not doing the Death Defiance, I'm doing like a strength run. It's like Typhon, I feel like I beat 9 times out of 10, which is disappointing because you would think the thing that is stronger than the antagonist, the main antagonist of the game, you think would be the hardest, but it really isn't. However, so Gianni, Shea was saying that she did 3 up and down of the harder boss fight. Did you answer that question? How many did you do?
I've only done 1, which is Polyphemus. But see, this is where I conflate things because the one that I had is are we like full spoilers at this point?
Let's just do full spoilers. Yeah, full spoilers.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a point where like Medea does some heightened boss mechanics. Is that part of what you're talking about?
Yeah. So the Polyphemus's version of the fight is you have to fight Polyphemus while Medea's there with all the poison. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So that's literally the only one I did. Same thing. I beat it. I barely beat it. And then I died in the very next section I went to.
The Typhon one, you have to fight Typhon and Kronos at the same time.
Shut the Oh
And
my
What?
that
god.
one is actually that one's very fucking cool and fun because
Wow.
it's so difficult because you don't have to kill Kronos so the one with Prometheus, you fight Prometheus and big blonde boy from the surface at the same time. I forget his name. Thor's kid or whatever.
Wait,
Hercules?
Hercules?
No. Is it Hercules? The guy, he's like wearing a wolf or a
Oh
bear
yeah.
skin.
Hercules.
Yeah,
That is
yeah, yeah.
Hercules.
The
Or
Yeah.
lion.
Heracles. I
The
The
think it's
Lion
lion.
Mane.
Heracles. Yeah.
Heracles, yeah.
Yeah. So
Same
you
thing.
fight Heracles and Prometheus at the same time, which is difficult, but you have to kill them both. Like you have to get them. They both have a health bar. With the Typhon Kronos fight, Kronos does not have a health bar. He's just there to fucking piss you off the whole time.
He's just there to be an asshole.
And it's
Interesting.
very good. And so I
Wow.
would recommend if you ever get to that point, even just don't do any of the other fear. Just do that to try to play the final boss fight because it's
Yeah.
a good remix of that one.
That's
But yeah, some
actually
of those are
crazy.
so hard. Like the Eris
Yeah.
one, I think is really even harder because she just moves a lot faster and you're in like a much narrower space. But did y'all get ever in a rhythm of like I'm doing the like large amounts of fear each run? Whether it was for the challenge or for that like side quest with
The
the
fangs.
skeleton guy.
Oh
Did y'all
yeah,
do
yeah,
that?
yeah. Um, I run it with the fangs where the enemies are buffed. Like
Yeah, like 10 or 20% or
sometimes you
whatever.
can't see them. Yeah. So that one's fine. I did it for one of the achievements on the vows, but other than that, only if I'm doing it for a challenge, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I did
enjoy the
two
game.
of the. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm really almost never using the fear mechanic if I'm being
Yeah.
quite honest. I did do the skelly ones, which I did. There's 3 statues. I was able to do 2, which
Okay.
I
Mhm.
think is where you get upwards of like 18 or
So yeah,
20, maybe.
Yeah,
I
there's
think it's
so
maybe like
much.
16 and 20 because there's always the one of them. I think the
Yeah,
underworld is always higher than
less or higher.
the
Yeah.
surface. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, so that's as far as I got with that, and I got to a point where I was like, all right, anything more than this, I'm gonna be like, I'm really not up for that kind of challenge
Sure.
in this game. I want the I just want the satisfaction of just going through the run and seeing all the different builds and things like that. Anything past what I did with those 2 statues was kind of it.
Yeah, because I just wanted to do everything I possibly could. I got all those statues. So the most I ever did was 32 fear. And that was
Oh wow.
insane. It was like
Yeah, that's
that was very
insane.
difficult. And once I did it, I was like, and I never have to use fear again.
Mhm.
Which like once you do it at 32, the base game
Yeah.
becomes a lot easier. But because typically I don't love um, making games harder for the sake of. But something about this gameplay loop I did enjoy of like just having it be more of a
Yeah.
challenge.
Mhm.
Especially like once at least in my experience toward there was a point where it's like, okay, if I'm not doing any fear, unless I just get really unlucky or I get a little boneheaded and I'm trying to do too much, I will succeed and it took it took like 70 or 80 hours to get to that point, if not more. So sometimes it is fun to add the challenge to it.
Yeah.
But with that, I think this is a good transition to talk about weapons. So not the most
Mm.
spoilery of topics. So, but I think we've already lost the people that we were going to lose. So we'll just leave it up. But did y'all have any favorite weapons or aspects of the weapons, Shay?
My favorite that I used and carried me my whole playthrough was the Umbral Flames aspect of Thoros. Because I
Yeah, that
never
was
really
very
used the
good.
special on it, but the Omega attack, you can just hold down your button and it just shoots them out, and then you use the
Yeah.
special and it just bursts. So it's really satisfying and it does so much damage.
That one's
Yeah.
very good. That I think
Yeah.
that one and the aspect of Persephone, which is one of the skull ones, are I think the two that I
Yes.
use the most because the aspect of Persephone does a cool thing where it also gets you usually whatever boon you're getting has like a 3 or 4 level boost from
Mhm.
it. So if you pair that with the Hades keepsake, that you get toward the end of the game, you can be getting things at like level 7 that are heroic already. And so you can from the beginning be pretty unstoppable with the aspect of Persephone. So it's like in a way it's kind of like a cheat. But I mean, hey, they designed it this way, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna fucking use it.
It's in the game.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Gianni, what about you? What did you go to most often?
My main is exactly the exact same thing. Umbral
Hell
Flames,
yeah.
Aspect of Moros. I
Yeah.
just love that explosion effect, and then
Me
getting
too.
the boons where to like add a third rotator or
Yeah.
it rotates faster. Just
Mhm.
finding ways to hit those explosions. I will say that in the last few hours, I unlocked the um aspect of the Morrigans, I think it is,
Yeah.
for
Oh
That's
yeah.
for
the twin
those.
blades.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And I'm really enjoying that one too. It's got a little bit of a learning curve on it, but it's cool because it does this thing where it creates like this trinity on all the characters
Oh
That's
yeah, yeah,
right.
and
yeah.
or your enemies, and
For
you hit them
blood
with you.
magic.
Yeah, you got to hit them with like a melee, a range, and then an omega attack. And once
Mhm.
all those click, it does like an extra explosion.
It's
It's
like
a little bit
700
slower.
damage or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. So I've been experimenting a little bit more than that, but with that one. But to be honest with you, this one I didn't really like. I didn't play around with the weapons as much as I would have liked to. I think now that I've kind of cleared house, I think that's what I'm going to do a little bit more of is trying out different things. I played around a little bit more with the aspects of the Umbral Flames, but even those ones, I'm like, I don't really like this one. I like this one. I'm going to stick with it. And that's just kind of
Sure.
what I did. But yeah.
Yeah, I think the ones I ended up liking the least was the axe. Like there were
Yep.
some times that I was able to get a really strong build with an axe, especially with the aspect of Kronos because of how big it was, and then the aspect of Thanatos, I think it was, which is the
Mhm.
scythe because you can
Hmm.
be pretty fast with that one. And then I had a good bit of trouble with the twin blades for a long time,
Hmm.
but then eventually it clicked for me. And because there's one especially, so the one you just mentioned is very good, but there's also the aspect of I think it's Pan, where if you drop a cast, then and you do the X special, at least on Switch, the X special, where you throw the blades will like hone and like to wherever.
Mm,
If there's any enemies in the cast, they'll like spin and go to there. So
directly to them.
Oh.
you could do like a lot of damage throughout the battlefield if you get into this flow of like, okay, drop a cast over there and then run to the other side or like just point the other way, throw
Yeah.
all of the things, and then they'll just do this huge like curve around the field and just everything they hit takes damage. So that one I
Yeah.
felt but could get really, really
Yeah.
powerful, especially pairing it with certain things where like anytime your special hits it, there's an explosion of fire or
Yeah.
these things that just like over time make it a lot stronger. It's like, oh, all of a sudden now I'm just like nonstop doing damage to everybody at every point and it feels
Yeah.
fucking great. But yeah, I didn't feel like there was ever, which again I think goes back to what I was saying at the top in our reviews of it. I don't think like if someone just gave me a run and said, okay, this is the aspect and this is the weapon you're doing, there isn't really one where I'm like, oh man, that fucking sucks. There are certainly ones I like more than
I do.
others, but really,
I
which
do.
ones? Which ones?
Fucking shoulder rockets and melee. I hate
Really?
that one.
Oh.
I do not like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say that like one cool thing that they do though is with those trials, they could have easily said like get 1,000 kills with this thing, just go off into either Tartarus or Olympus or whatever, and just go take out these trials.
Mhm.
But it's cool how they kind of streamline different builds where they'll say, hey, this trial is with this weapon. You're going to start off with these boons. You're going to start off with these combinations and these mechanics. So it does give you like fun ways to try out even the things that you might not necessarily vibe with. And it kind of gets the wheel spinning for different boon combinations.
Sure.
But if they, to your point, if they were to force me to use those fucking shoulder rockets, I'm out. This is a 1 out of 10 game. I'm sorry.
That's funny.
Oh my god.
There are certain builds with I forget what that it's even called. I don't remember what the
Black
base
coat.
the black
Oh,
coat.
the
That's right.
black coat.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again,
But
those trials are nice because they show you like, hey, there are builds that can be really, really fun using them. But
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel
other
like the
than that,
one
I'm like,
oh for sure, but I feel like the one good use case with the black coat is
yeah.
because all of them have some version of a shield, so you can like really
Mm,
take more damage, and then some of them as you unlock them, like the getting hit will then like cause reverse damage or whatever.
yeah.
But that's fair. There's one especially of the black coat that you start with a hex from the Moon Lady. That whenever you use
Oh,
the
I like
hex, it
that
just like
one.
drops a bunch of bombs, which I thought was
Yeah.
very
Ooh.
good.
Mm-hmm.
I doubt that Kayla is still listening because of spoilers, but if Kayla is still listening, she had asked at some point if we could give tips on anybody struggling with the combat in the game. And one of the things I would say is the hexes. Like really find a hex that
Yes.
works good for you or works well for you and leveling those up. Because it's so funny. Like I would talk to other people not on podcasts, and a lot of folks don't vibe with the hexes. And I'm like, dog, you're missing an entire thing that
That can
makes you
make or
even
break
more
your whole
powerful.
run.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, and it's the kind of thing. There's this fun progression I've noticed with Hades where you always kind of lean toward the thing that gives you more health in whatever
Yeah.
capacity because you just want more health. But then
Yeah.
as you get better, you start to understand the game more. It's like, okay, now that one's actually kind of like the weakest of all of them. I just
Mm-hmm.
want things
Yeah.
that make me more powerful, whether it's the giant thing that just does this massive thing of damage or like the jump thing, which I thought was really
Yeah.
good too.
What were
But
your guys' favorites of those?
for me, it would depend on whether I was doing an Underworld or an Olympus run. For like an Olympus run, I thought the best was the giant circle of damage,
Mm,
especially for the Typhon boss fight because Typhon never moves. So it's like you can
yeah.
just kind of spam that. But then for down, I really liked the jump one a lot. It's only if you could upgrade it though. If I couldn't get it
Yeah.
to upgrade, then that one it's really weak at first.
Yeah.
But what
Oh,
about
okay.
y'all?
I like the there's one I just got it the other night. It's called Night Bloom,
Which one's
and
that? I
you
forget.
can it's the Selene and Hera togetherness.
Oh,
And it brings back the first person that you kill to fight with
that one's
you.
very good.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That one's very
that
good.
one's really strong.
So that's the one that I typically use,
Mhm.
unless like more so on the bottom. I'll run that on either the bottom or the top, but there's a way when you level it up where it'll keep it permanent through your entire fight.
Yeah.
So that one's really good because
Oh,
even if you get to the Typhon fight, as long as you let one of those eggs burst, you
yeah.
can take one of those guys out, and then you can just smash the
Does
hex,
so
and
much damage.
he'll just sit there and just keep attacking Typhon
It's
over and
Yep.
like
over. It's
one of the first
awesome.
times that I leveled that up all the way, and then like you beat a run, and
Yeah.
it's like you did this much damage
Yeah.
with that weapon, you did this much damage with that weapon, and it was like 95,000 damage with my
Yeah.
little guy. I was like, fuck, I need to get the little guy more because that's a lot of fucking damage.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, before we talk story stuff, just straight up story
Yep.
stuff, we haven't talked a ton about characters. So maybe let's
Mm.
jump into some character stuff. I think my first question. So we all played Hades 1,
Mhm.
and obviously we all played Hades 2. That's why we're here tonight. At this point, do y'all have a preference between Zagreus and Malinois as a protagonist, Shay?
I think I like Melanoy better
Yeah, me too.
because she's more on track and organized
Yeah.
and kind of cares about the people around her.
Sure.
I don't know. Zagreus just felt like he was, you know, a teen being
Yeah, no, that's a
angsty.
great way to put it. Yeah, for
Like
sure.
whatever.
What about
But
you, Gianni?
yeah.
Yeah, I think Malinois is she seems more level-headed. I think there is a certain level of Zag that's like endearing as like, you know, I feel like we all go through that phase where we just think we're like invincible, and it's like, no, Dad, I'm gonna do what you know what I mean? So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
there is that certain level, like Shay said, that teenage angst that is a little endearing in a weird way. But to me, it's like it gets old in Hades 1. With Malinois, it's like I want to just see, I want to know everything that's going on with this girl.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? And I know we'll jump into that later, but yeah, I think Malinois is just far and away a more interesting character and a little bit easier to, not easier, but way more tolerable, I guess,
For sure.
by the end. In the sense that I never got annoyed with her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, there were times in the first game I remember being like, okay, I get it,
Like,
Zagreus.
shut
You're just
up,
so
dude.
funny and you're so
You're so cool.
angsty.
Yeah.
You're so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I definitely thought Malinois was more palatable in that way.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I thought there was something really charming about her that Zagreus lacked. And I
Yeah.
think honestly part of it might just be that we got more story of Malinois as a child. So that there's just like more, I just understood her arc more than I understood Zagreus's. And I think there was inherently like a knowing that Malinois from the jump being raised by Hecate instead of her actual parents.
Yeah.
There was just there was like the stakes seemed higher with her than Zagreus, where Zagreus was just this like kind of pretentious, know-it-all head of security in Hades and got away with whatever he wanted. He was giving like Yale rich boy to me in a way.
Yes. Oh, that's a perfect description.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
No,
and
street
Malinois, I
smart.
felt like more like started from the bottom, now we're here type vibe.
Yeah.
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 Which
Yeah.
I
She's a
really
day one.
exactly, which I really enjoyed.
Yeah.
In terms of the stories, let's jump into story. Not necessarily comparing them, but like the main kind of big story beats of this game, and especially the first ending and then the true ending, which the true ending like I'll never get over. But we can start with the base ending. Gianni, what did you think of how the game wraps up at first?
I liked it. I think we were talking about this earlier in messages, but like I know that the initial ending of the game, the ending where you roll credits, people didn't really dig it as much. I think I was kind of in the same space I was with Hades 1, which was I'm way more here for the gameplay than I am any. And this is coming from somebody who
Yep.
is puts story above everything in any
Yep.
game that I ever play. Hades was like that exception where I'm like, I'm not really here as much for the story. So for me, when the game ended, I was satisfied. I thought I was like, this is this is a contender for my game of the year. I thought we accomplished what we set out to. We had some beautiful moments. We had, some revelations. I think for me, the story really hits its stride though in the epilogue, and I think that is what solidified it as. I mean, man, dude, it's just a masterpiece.
Yeah.
So I think it's good when it ends, when you roll credits, but it's a masterpiece when you finish that epilogue storyline for sure.
Shay, anything to add on the first ending?
Are we gonna get into the change of it?
Oh, yeah, there's that too.
Oh,
yeah.
sure. Yeah, we can talk about that.
Yeah.
Do you wanna kick us off with the changing things?
Yeah. I was doing my research. I was jogging my memory, watching videos, and I was watching this video of the ending of Hades 2. And I'm like, wait a minute, I've never seen this before. Apparently, they put out a huge patch, and I know they put out a huge patch, but I didn't know it was this one specific thing. They added like backstory, a lot more backstory, and a change with Melanoe making or having more agency in the end of the game aside from Zagreus. Because at first, the ending that I got,
Yeah.
it felt like Zagreus just goes down and he talks to Kronos. He's like, hey man, chill out. And Kronos is like, yeah, okay. And like Zagreus does the whole thing.
Yeah.
But then in the newest patch and update, the ending is that Zagreus does do that, but also like Kronos is like, wait, I'm reminiscing on what life could have been if I was better, you know? And then they had Melanoe as a child with Kronos.
Yeah.
Just like being a happy family. And I was like, yeah, okay, that makes more sense.
For sure. And also there was they added
more.
a little bit too of instead of because I was a little not annoyed, but I was surprised that we spend all this time. We've done we've cleared so many runs, and then we just watch some cutscenes where Zagreus is like, you know what? I'm gonna give you another shot, old man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a little weird. it
Yeah.
was a little like,
What was
wait,
the
what?
point?
I was firmly in camp, like, no, we need to kill this motherfucker. Like,
Right.
what are we doing?
But
Like,
then,
what are we
and I was
doing?
like, but then, the realist in me is like, oh, well, of course,
Yes.
it's a video
Yeah.
game that the whole point is to like do it again, and so they
Yeah.
needed to come up with some sort of story beat to justify that. And I was like, okay, I'm willing to, it's not the best ending to a video game I've ever played, but I understand why they did it,
Yeah.
etc., whatever. But then, yeah, with the change, and they also with the change, so there's like a few different lines throughout as well, like that you wouldn't necessarily notice on a second playthrough, that just like you're talking to Nemesis and Millenway has like one more line, like those kinds of things to just like add some more color. But then yeah, like with the decision of giving Kronos another shot instead of killing him, Millenway has actually like more input on that decision in
Yeah.
the updated ending too, which is like, oh, of course, like I see now why. In hindsight, it's kind of crazy that it happened so soon after release, like 6
Yeah.
weeks after release. They're like, oh, here's
Yeah.
a
They had it ready
totally
to go,
different ending.
apparently.
Right. So
Like,
I would love to hear at some point in a couple years the interview with Jason Schreier where they're like, yeah, we really wanted to do that, but we had to hit this for like financial reasons or whatever. But yeah, man, with the updated ending and then doing the prologue and doing all of the different whenever you beat a run, it's just like it's just another like offshoot of the timeline or whatever.
mhm.
But ultimately you are trying to kind of work through Hecate's involvement and all of the different stuff that the role that Hecate had to play, which with like the culmination of that storyline and getting in the fucking hot tub with Hecate and then and then you learn that you're
Oh
like
my
the
God.
same person. I'm like,
Yeah.
how do they keep fucking doing this, Gianni?
That went above my head.
Really, Shay?
Yeah.
So let me say something. Okay, I'm gonna try not to get emotional right now, dude.
Hey, you can.
Fucking and I had this conversation on the content mill the other day, but like I have had games like make me frog and throw. I've had games like make me kind of get that the it's starting to well, you feel the puffiness. You're this game when you hit that those closing two screens on the Hecate conversation, you find out all this stuff that, Hecate is actually Millenway, who solved all this shit before and basically changed the trajectory of Millenway's life to basically raise her herself. She has this line. Can I read the line? Can I read
Read
the
the
line?
line. Read the line.
Yeah.
Hecate goes, they're having this conversation, and Hecate says, Millenway says, I love you, like I consider you, you are my mother, this and that. And Hecate says, I love you too, of course, Millenway, with all my heart and soul, far more than I could ever love myself. And I remember I read that and I like paused and I was like, huh. Then she goes, and I'm reading it, she's saying it, and I'm reading it after the fact. Far more than I could ever love myself. And I pause and then she goes, and I am so sorry for all that you had to endure, for the family you never had. And when I
Aw.
tell you guys, I like literally, I was like, it was like one of those like, what's happening right now? And I full on started like sobbing, like
The dam
full on
broke.
tears,
Yeah.
like full on tears, like tears running down my face, because it's just this moment where it's every conversation we have about depression. It's every conversation we have about anxiety. It's every conversation we have about family trauma. This is her talking to her inner child and basically saying, I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry that you had to go through all that and that you felt like maybe you were alone in that, or that you, and then she stops talking and Millenway goes something to that. I don't have the screen in front of me, but just something to the effect of like, I love you too. You are my family. And it's like this moment of just kind of like, if you don't believe in yourself, like you should love yourself. Like, it's just this moment of, it's incredible. And it recontextualizes the whole game, in my opinion, because it's like,
I agree.
the whole game is about you just kind of fighting this uphill battle. And you've got all these family members in your ear telling you what you should do, what you shouldn't do. It's you basically like, and to tie it even into the Fate storyline, it's just like, it's about you bucking expectation and being true to yourself and loving yourself. And that to me is the beauty of this game, is that I didn't have that moment until this very specific scene where I'm like, this made it all worth it. This made this
For
story
sure.
so fucking beautiful. Because this is me apologizing to, 10-year-old Gianni for all the shit that he's gonna have to deal with or put up with or not understand or
For
hate
sure.
himself for. It's that same moment here for Hecate apologizing to herself, like, yo, you're gonna go through it and I'm sorry. But if you don't think anyone loves you, just know I love you. And
Yeah.
my God, waterworks, you guys.
Oh, for sure. And
Waterworks.
like I really loved how so throughout the game the version of like questing is the fates. So this idea that all that is happening has been written or in some
Yeah.
capacity seen by the fates. And kind of like what you were saying, Gianni, of Malinois's struggle in this is like, I'm having to clean up this mess that I had nothing to do with, that
Yeah.
is just a bunch of nonsense from these fucking old people that are trying to basically
Yeah.
destroy the world. But I guess no one else is going to do it, so it's going to be me. I
Yeah.
think that aspect of it also hit me hard with like for people that watch the show and have been around like my year has been just fucking dog shit with my tree, with the my house being destroyed by a tree, my cars being displaced, all this shit of this like every day being reminded of this bullshit when the small things of like, oh,
Yeah.
there's mold in this apartment that I shouldn't even live in because my house was destroyed, or people next door being loud, but I shouldn't even hear them because I shouldn't live here because my house shouldn't have been, like this, like, but
Yeah.
ultimately it's something that you have to fucking deal with and you have to move forward and put one foot in front of the other, which is what Malinois does. And this idea that finding out that all of this, the only reason that it exists is that a past version of yourself wanted to risk it all to make
Yeah.
this other version of yourself the life a little less stressful and just having the opportunity to actually do something about it. Because the idea being in Hecate's timeline, she does stop Kronos, but there isn't like
Mm-hmm.
there isn't really a positive outcome from it. And so this idea that like, okay, maybe you can do it differently. Maybe you can actually find some positive change. And so Malinois's version of doing it is by fucking changing Kronos instead of defeating him and getting him to be nice again and be empathetic and all this shit is like this, kind of dealing with and rolling the dice that you're given and finding a path forward. I think I was not expecting that to be like the
Yeah.
message of this game, and it really fucking worked for me. And that was similar to you, Gianni. I didn't cry because I'm a shell of a man. I'm a husk of a man. But it was like, oh, great. This is now, it has one thing that was missing for me, which is a
Yeah.
story that fucking rocks and is so strong. Because up until that point, like, the original ending was like, oh, it's good, but it's not something that I'm going to say everybody should play this. And like,
Yeah.
an aside to that is like, it sucks that for me to then suggest this game to somebody to get to the story beat that I think is all worth it might take you 120 hours,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
oh, fuck, it's fucking worth it. So I've been rambling. Shay, you didn't catch on that Hecate is Malinois?
No, she
Oh
took
my
off her
God,
mask.
Shay.
I'm sorry.
No, I don't apologize.
Dude,
I'm just
sometimes
surprised.
I play the game for the gameplay. Like
For
that's
sure.
my favorite part of it and the
Yeah.
art. But yeah, she took off her mask and Melanoy was like, "Oh, you're so beautiful." And Hecate's like, "Yeah, this is me."
Thanks, dog.
And that's what I got from it.
Cool, dude.
Sure.
Hell
No,
yeah.
I mean, I don't, I'm not surprised because at first when it happened, she takes off the thing and like the whole game we've not been able to see the one eye, and then we see that it's red like Malinois. So I'm like, oh, wait a second. But they never explicitly say it. Like there's
That
never like
didn't dawn on me. I
and
thought
I'm
it was
you.
because they're witches.
Oh, sure. But it didn't, because they're not explicit about it. So I then went to
Yeah.
Google and I was like, Dr. Google, is Malinois Hecate? Because I think she is, but I'm not 100% sure. And they're like, yeah, she is.
Oh.
So it wasn't it wasn't
Okay.
super clear to me either. But it was, I had an idea. But yeah, because they don't paint it the clearest that they possibly could. But
Yeah, it's just God, it's just one of those moments that I will never forget, like, just that feeling that I had, you know what I mean?
I agree.
And it makes you think, like, you know, what would I say if I could talk to myself when I was 6 years old, 7, like, when my
Mhm.
kid's age, you know what I mean? Like, what would I say to myself? And that is that conversation is just kind of like, "Hey, when, you know, if you don't think anyone has got your back, like, I got your back." And it's just like, love yourself. If no one's gonna love you, love yourself. You know
For
what I
sure.
mean? It's
And
it's
it's
such a
such an
beautiful
important
moment, man.
I agree, and it's such an important, I think, message in general of like Hecate's so Millennium 1.0 had to go through all of this alone. And so now it's like, okay, I know how bad
Yeah.
that was. I know how hard that was. So I want to make sure that because I know you're about to go through all of this yourself, that I want to give you the tools to not have to go through it the way that I had to go through it. It's just such a like
Yeah.
good,
And just
loving message.
and just the fact that, like, none of this shit is predictable, right? Like, she went through a whole lifetime and then made an attempt at making an alternate timeline version of herself life's better, and only ended up creating more headache for her
Yeah.
in a completely different way. And that's why, like, you brought up like the um you know, everyone kind of having these, I mean, we all talked about these expectations. It didn't even click for me too the whole time that the whole game, everyone's like, "Oh, Millennium will she'll figure it out. She's in charge of figuring it out. She's in charge of doing this." And it's like, "Yo, you guys are like full fucking gods, and you
Correct.
can't figure out the situation." And you're just like, "Oh,
Yeah.
she'll do it.
She got
Yeah.
She'll do it.
this.
She got it. She got it." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's just there's so many levels to it. So many levels to it. God, I love this fucking game. I love this
Also,
game.
I love the when you get to the true ending that they're like, and so the gods decided to have a time of peace
Yeah.
because the fates just said, "Fuck off, we're
Fuck
not
it.
doing this anymore." I That was very
Yeah.
fun. Of like, so then now I'm like, okay, we probably aren't going to get a Hades 3 because also this is the first time that Supergiant has ever done a sequel. But I'm like, okay, but like, is there a story here of like a mortal that could be told in this time of peace, and like whatever happens at the end of this time of peace when like the next big conflict starts, like now like my wheels are turning of like what could Hades 3 be, because I don't, but then it's like we probably don't need a Hades 3. I just would love more
It could
of
be.
this world. I mean, there certainly could be.
Yeah.
But I'm so interested to see, because have y'all played other Supergiant games before Hades before
No,
at
but
all?
they look exactly like Hades.
Yeah, there's a
I,
lot of
Like,
overlap in like
yeah.
art style for sure.
yeah.
I think the only one I played is was it Braid? Not
Not
Braid.
Braid, Bastion.
What, Bastion,
Ash.
Bastion. I
Yeah,
played Bastion. That was the first one, and that's the only one I played other than Hades.
yeah,
I do think if they're gonna go another route, see, it's tough because like you, I like things. I'm okay with things ending. I'm okay if we don't get another Hades game,
Mhm.
but I think there is a certain level of like you see all the fourth aspects for all these weapons, and it is a little interesting that they're all other pantheons of gods in
yeah.
outside of this one. So I do wonder is that the direction they go, or is that too easy of an answer if they just God of War it and go, well, now we're doing fucking Egyptian Hades? Like,
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that would be very cool. That would be
Yeah.
really, really cool.
Yeah, I would fuck with that. If a little fucking
Like Percy
if
Jackson.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so I easily this is like the best Supergiant has ever done. I've played all of their games, but yeah, Pyre is it's such a weird, it's like religious basketball as a game, but like not
Mm,
religious that you would think of like in our world. It's like in this version of this world that they've built, but there is, you can see the DNA in every game they've ever made up until Hades, and then they do it just again and even better. So I'm so interested to see for a company that has mostly just reinvented itself and just made everything better than it was. Where do they
Mhm.
go
yeah.
from here? Like, do they just triple down, or do they go into a new thing entirely? I don't know, but um, as far as I'm concerned, fucking the world is their oyster for me.
Yeah.
Um, what else? I So there's a few other things like on our little shared doc of like systems and things, but I feel like we've kind of covered
Yeah.
the gamut. But is there anything else that y'all that's just on your heart about Hades 2 that you want to discuss?
Are we discussing the hotties or what's up?
Oh,
What are we
duh.
doing?
Yeah. Let's finish out with
Come on, dude.
discussing the hunks and the
What are we
babes.
what are we doing
I mean,
here?
I
chaos.
have the
One of
character
the
sheet.
one of the most clothed characters in the game, but chaos is there's something
Did you say
undeniable about
clothed?
chaos. Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely wearing more clothes than the average character in Hades. But yeah, what are some standouts for y'all?
Boon wise, my favorites were Hestia and Hephaestus.
Okay. It
Pretty
took me a while
wise,
to grow on
Icarus.
Hephaestus. Oh yeah, you
Really?
mean Thickerus?
Sure.
No, actually, the Icarus shockingly thin for a game with so much muscle and
Oh,
Yeah.
can we talk about that actually?
yeah.
Was I reading it wrong, or were they completely setting up Melinoi and Icarus to be together, only for it then to become a conversation about Moros and Melinoi? Am I off
Yeah.
base with that
Well,
one?
so
I
all
don't
of the
know.
different, so you can romance 4 people in the game. You can romance Icarus,
Oh, okay. So
Eris,
that's new to me.
Moros, and Nemesis.
Say it again.
And
Icarus, Moros,
Eris
Eris,
and
Nemesis.
Nemesis. Yeah, those are the 4.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
all of them, there's some sort of dialogue about others with it. But it does kind of feel like Icarus is the one that they put the most kind of stock into or weight into.
Yeah.
Because so the way my like journey with it, I started with Nemesis because I mean, come on, the arms, those biceps, and then Moros, and then Eris, and then Icarus, and I felt like there was just a lot. I feel like Moros and Icarus are the two that I think they expected most people to do because those ones I felt like had the most oomph to them. And then also
Yeah.
Icarus's story, like giving him life again and letting him feel again. I was like, okay, this is a lot. Kind of the stakes are very high here. Whereas
Mhm.
Nemesis is just like, let's fuck. And Eris is like, let's fuck. And it's cool if we want to fuck other people too. And then, but then also with Moros, there was a lot more kind of conversation and stuff too. I mean, not to say that the others didn't have like vulnerability at all, but I feel like
Mhm.
those two, it was a lot more about the relationship more than just like, we're gods.
Yeah.
We're gonna be here forever. Why don't we just
Yeah.
mess around a little bit?
Mhm.
Because that was my takeaway. I was like, which again, going back to pre-show, that's why I made a comment about the romancing. I'm like, I didn't even know there was romancing. So this is new to me now. I was like team Icarus. So I was like, oh man, these guys are gonna get together. It's gonna be beautiful. And then Moros is like talking about how he wants to tell somebody that he loves them or something, and then you realize what's going on. I'm like, wait, where did this come from? I have no idea where that came from.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
He's
interesting.
also like betrothed. When you
Yeah,
start
Oh, that's right.
romancing him, he's like, "Oh, I'm
that's
betrothed to
right.
another," and he's like, "Gotta be secret about it."
Yeah,
But
that's
I
right.
don't know.
Naughty.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did. I thought it was interesting or like on brand that at least in the way that I did it, where so I'm hooking up with Nemesis and then I start talking with Eris, and Nemesis is like, really, you're talking to
My
her?
sister.
And she's like, well, and Belinda was like, well, yeah, I mean, we're gods. Like, we're just here to have a good
What do we
time.
do? Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, that's funny that there's like everybody's poly in Olympus and in the underworld because we're here forever. But then you start dating Icarus, and he's like, I just want to feel. I just want
Yeah.
to feel the blood rushing through my veins. I was like, okay, we're getting real now, which is fun.
Yeah.
But I also thought it was really sweet when so romancing Icarus is also I think the only one where you actually have to like do something, like achieve something. You have to do an incantation for this potion to like bring him back to life.
Mhm.
And she's like, if you want to go like fly and feel the wind and the ocean before like one more time before it goes away, you can. And he's like, I just want to stay here with you. I'm like, that's my fucking dog.
Oh, he knows,
Very
dude.
good. Very good. In terms of the gods and whatnot and like favorites, so Shay, you were saying Hephaestus and
Hestia.
Hestia. I like
Yeah.
Hephaestus a lot. It took me a while for Hephaestus to grow on me, but I realized like once you started really stacking the armor stuff. I was like, oh, you can become so powerful with Hephaestus.
Mhm.
But I really loved once you finally make it to the top of Mount Olympus, you get Hera. I liked Hera a lot,
Oh, yeah.
especially the power that her like main thing is it called a hitch? I
Mhm.
think where
Hitch.
you
Yeah.
do you damage one thing and then it damages everything. And at first, it was like, oh, this feels like super OP. But then you kind of realize it's not. But the one that I always, every single time I could get it, was the sprint power of hers. Because you're running around the map, and every time you run through something, you add
It
hitch to
hitches
them.
them.
Oh, it's Hitch,
Oh,
yeah.
that one was so good. I was so that one was one every time I could get it, I would do it. And then the other one I would do every time I could possibly get it was the Poseidon power that duplicates stuff. Of
Duplicates.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
whenever you get money or anything but a boon, you could duplicate. And the hammer, anything but a boon and a hammer, I think you could duplicate. Those were, even though I didn't love like a full Poseidon build, there were a few powers of Poseidon that I really, really liked.
Mhm.
What about you, G?
I was a big fan of Hestia as well. I like the like explosion stuff. I
Yeah.
like the cast with the flames. I really liked Aphrodite's like weaken and charm stuff. So Hestia and
Yeah.
Aphrodite were like kind of my go-tos across the board. If I was doing Underworld, I felt like there was a lot more need for crowd control stuff. So I would
Mhm.
always go for Hitch if I could. So I was always going for Hera. Um, and then I do like Poseidon's like support stuff. I think the only one that I kind of just stay away from, I don't even want to say that. They're all good, but like Zeus, I really don't mess with unless it's the when you get hit,
Mm,
it casts out the lightning bolts. Like I like that. Um, I will say the one that I just really do not touch is Ares, which is weird because I feel like that was
Oh.
one of the ones that I really enjoyed the most in the first game.
Mhm.
yeah.
But when I stack them up against all the new stuff and the even the repurposed mechanics, I think Ares is like the only one that I will just almost 95% of the time just
Really?
go to in a different direction.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
I would
The
stay
only
away
one that
from
I would
Apollo.
see, Apollo, it would depend on the build of like if
Yeah.
Mhm.
I would never really start with Apollo unless they really wanted me to. Like there were sometimes like, okay, I get it. You want this to be an Apollo run. Um, but I feel like there were some things where like Apollo, I think is one, and I think Ares is another one where it kind of relies on other things to also make it stronger.
Yeah.
Um,
Hermes is another one.
but and Hermes is one that I would stay away from usually because I feel
Yeah.
like I could in other ways improve the things that Hermes kind of tries to improve, but with other boons of like
Mhm.
Yeah.
having powers done faster or cooldown, slow
Yeah.
down, where like when that's the only thing it does versus like this other thing kind of wrapped into it with like the speed stuff. So yeah, Hermes is
Yeah.
one that I didn't really I would kind of gravitate away from if I could. Um but I'm surprised you didn't like
Apollo is good for
Zeus,
the
Gianni.
I will say Apollo Shay is good because especially if you're using the Umbral Flames, does the thing where the special becomes much bigger.
Big
So
yeah,
when you
yeah,
get
yeah.
that, and then you pair it with the
Hestia.
hammer to get like the
Yes.
third rotator,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
fire. Yeah,
And
Zeus I didn't
another
really mess with, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think if you go back to it, I would recommend giving Zeus more of a shot, especially pairing Zeus with Hera. There's some really good
Mm,
synergy between those two.
infusion ones,
Um,
yeah.
but it's with Zeus, it's kind of like Hephaestus, where maybe one blitz power doesn't do much, but now all of a sudden you have four blitz powers, and it's like you were just doing damage and you barely have to do anything. It's like, oh, I'm activating blitz when I sprint. I'm activating blitz when I use my special. I'm activating blitz when I hit somebody. I'm activating blitz when I use my cast. So all of a sudden you're just activating blitz like every fucking second and a half.
Yeah.
So it's like more of a stacking situation. But yeah, the one I think the Apollo kind of OP thing, if you are building a strong cast power, is the cast that expands. Where like
Oh, that
over the
one's good
course of
too.
4 seconds, the
Yeah.
cast gets bigger. So it's like, oh, now I
Yeah.
have four different powers in my cast bubble, and the cast bubble is now taking up like half the map. It's like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
this is very strong. Especially there's one of the aspects we didn't talk about earlier is the aspect of Circe, maybe it's a staff one where it doubles your cast. So wherever
Oh,
your
I like that
familiar
one. Yeah.
is, you also drop a cast. And then there's this like beam of
Laser.
energy that goes between them that damages anything in between it, which is also that one was
Mhm.
very, very strong. Familiars we never talked about. Did you guys have a go-to familiar in the game? For me, it was 98% the cat.
Oh, the cat
Yeah,
annoyed me.
Really?
really, I use the
Yeah,
cat as well.
interesting. I just, like, was never
Speaking
near
of,
it to
whoa,
run
George with
into
the
it.
timing.
Little
That
guy!
dude is
Oh,
meant to
Balls.
be on screen.
so good.
Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, the cat, it would always just sleep on the ground, and I was like, "Can you please help me? But you gotta, like, run through it," and I'm never near it to run through it, and then it'll
Yeah.
just, like,
Mm,
check out. So
I
Fritos
think,
was my go-to.
gotcha. Fritos is
Oh,
the
see,
frog, right?
Yeah.
that
Yep.
was the one I never used. I used the cat like pretty much all through the main game. Once I got to end game and I'm like, all right, I don't really need all the extra death defiances. I would use the Raven a lot,
Mm,
and I liked pairing
Raven's
it.
good.
That it was fun pairing it with the aspect of Cersei because the Raven's just like everywhere on the field, and
Yeah, for sure.
you're getting that double cast. I
yeah,
started using the
yeah.
Raven a lot more.
I
Rocky
liked
is the Raven's name.
I liked Hecuba a lot, the dog. If I wasn't
Oh,
using
yeah.
the cat, I would usually use the dog. But I also like the ferret. But I feel like the ferret ultimately for me ended up being because the power of the ferret is it can block for you a few times,
Mhm.
which is like okay. But then I was like, okay, by the second room, he's blocked.
He's done.
He's used all of his blocks.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think his passive is something to do with speed, maybe, but I forget exactly. But that was one that I would just bring him because he was cute. But I think one of my favorite animations of a video game ever is you're in the middle of the most hectic fight. They like you kill an enemy, a bomb comes out of it, or there's ghosts, like all these things are happening, and in the corner, the cat just like stretching out, and then just like curls
Yeah.
up and goes to sleep. I'm
Yeah.
like, this is so fucking cute. I love it so much that in the middle of a battle, the cat will just go to bed. Is very very good. Swanky says, I'm with Gianni, started with cat for Death Defiances, but eventually became a crit slut with the Raven. Dog sometimes
Yeah.
for magic heavy runs, for sure. That makes sense.
Yep.
And then he also mentioned earlier, my only note about the game in general would be they could have fan serviced me more with Nyx and Megara, or Megara, however you say it. Here's the thing, joke aside, two of my gripes with the story of the game is you guys ever wake up Hypnos?
Yes.
Oh,
Oh my
yes, I
god.
did.
I
Then what?
was
Is
truly
that
so
it?
disappointed. That is it.
That
It
was
never
it.
comes up again. Unless there's something that just like no one has uncovered yet. Hypnos is like, oh, my bad. And then he goes away. And I was like,
That's a big one.
really
Yeah.
big miss.
Yeah.
I think they realized their mistake because in the update patch, you don't have to re like in the original, which is probably the way that both of y'all did it, you have to do it like 3 times where you
Mhm.
get to
Mhm.
like the end of a layer and it's like he's still asleep, you have to leave, you have to go do the spell again, and then you have to do it again. In the new
Yeah.
version you just do it once and then you go all the way to the end.
Ugh,
So you don't have to like keep rinsing and repeating,
yeah.
which is better because then it's not building up this what you expect to be this massive
Yeah.
reveal of like, oh, this cool thing. Because so and then that pairing it with Hypnos story going nowhere, pairing it with you just like never really get to explore the House of Hades with people
Yeah.
or have any sort of once you save everybody. So yeah, like Megara and Megara, all these other characters that are trapped by Kronos the entire game that you finally free when you break Kronos' spell. They're just like chilling in the House of Hades. Zagreus is back at the House of Hades. Your parents are there, and you don't ever
Yeah.
just like go and like have conversations with them and like
Yeah.
catch up
The
and like
the closest is, I guess, talking to Hades and Persephone at the
I
bottom
guess,
of
but
Mhm.
like
Tartarus. But I
Really
had that
helped.
same thought. I'm like, and it's cool because they even redress it up. They add all the construction signs and stuff.
yeah,
And I'm like, oh, maybe there's
Yeah.
gonna be a cool little way for me. Because even what is it, Erebus at the top, or I forget the name of the
Yeah. Yeah,
city.
yeah,
Is
yeah.
it Erebus? I mean, that
Or,
has a mechanic where
Infura.
oh, that's what it is. That has a mechanic where you can kind of go into these little side rooms. You know what I mean? I thought that was what that was gonna be. You get down to Tartarus and maybe like, hey, you can go
oh
talk to
sure.
these people, but no.
I really loved. We didn't talk about the city. I loved the just like the vibe of going into the city, the
Mhm.
Elfira,
That's my
whatever it
favorite
is.
area. Like
It was
I
overall,
all
that's
loved
my
it.
favorite
open,
area.
yeah.
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 And I just love the
Swanky,
agency of choosing different
me
things,
too.
you know.
Me too. And yeah, having a really okay, how do I want to build this run? It's like, oh, Medea's here. I'm gonna go to Medea. You always go
Yeah.
to Medea.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
Squanky says maybe those things with the House of Hades come in a future update. That's interesting.
But like, they already did the ending again.
I know. I agree. Where like it feels, you would think that they would have at least said something by now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be real. If they're like, hey, new update, not a new ending, but a new like 10-hour arc with the House of Hades and all the
Yeah.
people from Hades, and I'm like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
doing
I'm
that
there.
immediately.
That would be
Another
cool.
150 hours.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything that
exactly.
you have to like go back for and redo your playthrough, basically, that would annoy me.
For sure.
Like
Yeah.
the ending, that
Yeah.
annoys me.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah,
But it's okay.
I was a little annoyed because also, so I did the thing where like it turns back time and you do it
Yeah.
again. And one of the things that they do is so you get to keep everything except anything in terms of your like resources, except anything that would help you defeat Kronos and Typhon. So you have to get all those things again.
Oh.
And they make it to where you have to do a few more runs of, I think specifically Kronos. And so it's not, I don't remember the number, but it's more than 10 now with the updated ending. And it's like, okay, I mean, at this point, I'm strong enough that I can, as long as I'm not doing fear, I can burn through that. But it did feel like they just added a little bit of padding for the sake of, which was a
Yeah.
little disappointing.
Still like 3
but-
hours of gameplay. Like it's
Yeah.
like
Right. But then also adding in the Zagreus boss fight, which we didn't talk about, which I also thought was
yeah.
fun.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
And the remembering like, oh yeah, that's right, that's how Zagreus played. He would like throw the tier
Yeah.
thing, and then so it was like, oh yeah, this is, and then he would have a death defiance, which was fun.
Yeah.
But what else? Any other final thoughts on Hades 2 before we go say hi to Jake?
I want to shout out the humor in the writing. Skelly and Narcissist or Narcissus. Every time
yeah.
I'm just absolutely cracking up. And Skelly has some of these like super subtle, like funny, just mannerisms that he has. Oh my god, it's so funny. And Narcissus, I said I wrote this when you guys one of the earlier Hades games are pretty good. Hades and Hades 2 podcast. I had mentioned that Narcissus kind of gives like Andy Samberg doing Nicolas Cage.
Oh, sure.
And now every time I see Narcissus, that's the first thing I think of is just like that voice.
Yeah.
It's so funny. So
one of
funny.
my favorite, I forget the line, but one of my favorite lines is like, it's toward the beginning of the time that you're talking to Narcissus and he says something and Melino's like, what? And he just like completely ignores you because he's just talking to himself. I was like, this is very good. I thought it was very cute. The little storyline with Narcissus and Echo though. They're like trying to rekindle their friendship was good.
Yeah.
Well, game of the year, game of the fucking everything for
Easy.
me.
Ever.
PG and
Easy.
Shea rocking it with, hey,
Hell
these
yeah.
games are pretty good, huh? A Hades and Hades 2 podcast. Thank you for joining.
Thank you,
Gianni,
Patrick.
where can
Yeah.
folks that if they, they're here for the first time, maybe they're at Shay's community, but they really liked your vibe. They saw you from across the bar and they really liked your vibe. Where can they find you on the internet? What are you doing?
Yeah, you can find me Gianni DiCrosta. You can find me on every platform you could possibly think of. Over on YouTube is my long form content. Twitch, I stream 4 days a week, Monday through Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Find me on TikTok, Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky. Also, I host the Content Mill podcast, which is a podcast brought about by this very community. So check us out, the Content Mill podcast over on YouTube. We just celebrated our Game of the Year episode, and we finally hit 100 subscribers, which is a big milestone for us. So it's been really good support coming specifically from the Dido community, which has been awesome. So find me, Gianni DiCrosta, anywhere, and the Content Mill podcast.
Easy. How about you, Shay?
You can find me also anywhere. I usually stream on Twitch and YouTube. I am Shay_Noelle, SHEA, like the butter _NOELLE, like Christmas. So
Boom. It's your time of year, the most wonderful time.
it's my time.
Easy. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank y'all for being here. Now we got to find what's the next game that the three of us are going to love that we can talk about on a podcast.
Man.
Hades 3.
Exactly. But well, we got to find something before then because that might be a very, very long time from now. All right, y'all. Jake is playing some Minecraft, so go. We're gonna raid him. Oh, I think I just started it actually. So you guys might not be hearing this anymore, but that's okay. Thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Thanks for
Hell
watching.
yeah.
Until we meet again. Bye bye.
Bye.